Well, I think we hit it right on the money, right on the nose. How are you? Good evening. When I used to do overnight radio, midnight to 6 a.m., at a big castle right up the road from where I'm talking to you now, um, Sunday through Thursday night, we would say good morning after midnight. But on Friday and Saturday nights, if I was doing those shifts, and I often was, especially the Friday night, you would say good evening or refer to it as the night because people were out there, partying, and your audience was going to be people that were going to and from the next party spot in the car or perhaps working all night at the local grocery store, that kind of thing. The night crew over at ShopRite. ShopRite is a big store here in the Hudson Valley where I'm talking to you from right now. Um, You'll be able to comment here in the section live if you happen to be watching. Let me know where you are watching from. I haven't been saying that, and people stopped doing it. I always love knowing where you are watching from. It's an early Saturday morning, the 28th of January, as we do this live, and hopefully we've got that ready to go for your comments. I think it is. I think it's kind of an automatic thing. We call this talk World War III in 2023 question mark plus much more. We're not going to keep it on a downbeat, and you'll be able to participate if you want to do some happy talk. Well, all right. Come up with a fun subject, and we can do that too. Not that one. Well, maybe a little bit of that. Talk about a plethora of things here early in the morning here on an early Saturday morning. Really, um, I have been hearing a lot of things from various speakers, and in terms of World War III. President Biden early on in his presidency said that he wouldn't bring tanks into the Ukraine and wouldn't get the U.S. That heavily involved because that's World War III. And for once, he was actually right about that. But now we're planning on bringing tanks in. It'll take a while for that to happen, but that worries a lot of people. So I wanted to see what Nostradamus had to say. Now, I don't follow the word of Nostradamus, but he has made predictions over 450 years ago. And they say, I have not actually read his predictions on things like JFK's assassination, but the Jerusalem Post reports, that's my source here, the Jerusalem Post reports that some of these predictions have come true. Now, I'm not exactly sure what he said about 1984, but he was, I think, way off, like 40 years off, 39 years off. But David Bowie's song, 1984, anybody or everybody, definitely not everybody, remember that? 1984, the David Bowie song. We didn't have the ominous prediction happened then, but maybe he should have said 2024. Maybe he was off by 40 years. They didn't have calculators and computers back in the time of Nostradamus. Famed French astrologer Nostradamus, that's how we refer to him. His name was something like Michael Notre Dame, Nostradam. Nostradamus, he prepared a book of chilling predictions and released it over 450 years ago. Many of his predictions have come true. He predicted World War II, Hitler's rise to power, and the French Revolution. He predicted the assassination of JFK and the 9/11 towers attacks. That's what they say, the 9/11 terror attacks. I did look a little bit of exactly what he said there, and you could definitely infer he was talking about what would happen on 9/11 in New York City and Lower Manhattan. You absolutely could. Um, well, we got 5 people watching so far with 1 like. Feel free to comment. Let me know who you are and where you're from. So, what about 2023? Well, the first thing we have to realize is that the predictions of Nostradamus do not mention a specific date. There's not a specific date attached to them, but a lot of people think that some of the things that he says that I'm going to mention now could be close at hand. Let's say that close at hand. Number one, a failed economy. That could lead to cannibalism. Now, a lot of people think that he's speaking metaphorically when he uses the word cannibalism. In other words, uh, through the greed and fear and self protection, self quality in man, woman, that we would be, pushing people out of the way so we could succeed, even if they ended up starving outside our bomb shelter or being nuked. That's a real possibility these days. Whoever thought it would? Does um does Nostradamus predict something that's related to Elon Musk? Well, Elon Musk, his quest to visit and colonize Mars may lead to disaster. This is what Nostradamus said many, many years ago. He wrote, "There will be fire in the heavens with the lights of Mars to go out." So definitely, Elon, you don't want to be on that first batch. You don't want to go up with the first batch of people you send to Mars. Nostradamus predict more drought and floods, and the Bible, which is much more authoritative, talks about that in the last days: an increase in famine, an increase in floods, an increase in fire, and what have you. All kinds of catastrophes happening in the last days. Uh, why would a loving God do that? Well, this is not one of my spiritual videos. I'm not going to hit you over the head with the Bible, so don't tune out. But uh, the deal is that we are a sinful lot. We are a sinful lot who chooses sin and chooses murder and chooses all kinds of things that are against the will of God for us and for the world. So really, we can't complain too much about the results, the conclusions, the response of God to a sinful, evil world. But in that world, there are great people of God, right? There are great people that make better choices. And that's another story when we talk about God's people and the rapture. There's a new Left Behind movie coming out, I see. The first one had Nicolas Cage in it. Nicolas Cage, I think, has now done 7,000 or 8,000 movies. I'm not sure. Many of them lately. Yeah, I slipped into pop culture. Uh, Nobody does more movies than Nicolas Cage. I think they set it up so he just goes from one to the other like he's a human factory. He's been here in the Hudson Valley when he was researching the role. He did a 9/11 movie and he was going to play the firefighter, the hero firefighter, one of the hero firefighters. They all were, right? Um, he was going to play someone who lived here about 8 miles from me, and he came up to meet the gentleman and research the role, and had dinner in Goshen, New York. And but Nicolas Cage has a gambling problem. He has a spending problem. They make fun of it in one of the newer films he did where he plays the character Nick Cage. He's playing himself, and it's kind of a spoof on his activity. He is playing an actor whose prime years have left him. He no longer gets the big movie offers, and he has to take the gigs that he's offered and try to survive on the money. He's not getting $10 million a picture anymore, $15 million a picture anymore. Now he's probably getting sometimes as little as 50,000 a picture, and yet he had huge IRS debt. I think it was something like 14 million in debt to the IRS at one time, and he he plays a spoof of himself in this movie, The Unbearable Weight of Massive Talent, something like that. It's still, I think you have to pay to see it on Prime Video. I did pay, and it was well worth it. It was a really good film. He gets an offer to go to a big birthday party on an island where this very rich man is a huge Nick Cage fan, and he just wants him to come to his party. He wants him to be there, so he offers him $1 million. Nicolas Cage, his agent, played by Doogie Howser himself, Neil Patrick Harris, wonderful actor, says, "You got this offer, $1 million," and Nick doesn't want to do it, but he says, I could use that million. I could. So he goes there, and this guy has a Nick Cage museum on his island. He's a real fan. And he comes across this statue of him, and it sort of looks a little like Nick Cage, but it looks like he's been through a nuclear winter or something like that. And he looks at that and says, "Oh, that's grotesque. I'll give you $20,000 for it." That would be Nick Cage, who I think got outbidded in an auction by uh, Leonardo DiCaprio, or I'm trying to remember the story now. Leo might have at some point said, "Okay, you can have it," and now Nick Cage is paying for whatever crazy item it was. Maybe something. It could have been a mummy. I'm not sure. He's paying an exorbitant amount of money that he doesn't have. So yeah, that's how that goes. But he is gonna be waging a comeback. He is going to play Dracula in a movie for Universal Pictures. He's already done it, and it'll be out in theaters, I believe, in March. They put green paint on his face. It's really more focused on his assistant, his anxiety-ridden assistant, who um, is so he wants to leave Dracula's employment. He wants to get away from this guy, but he won't let him go. He won't let him go. So he goes to a support group. He's in a circle in a support group for anxiety, and he's trying to explain what's going on in his life. And here is Dracula hovering above the support group. It looks very funny. It looks very good. I'm sure this is a good payday for Nicolas Cage, who hasn't had one in a while. It just amazes me how he goes from movie to movie to movie. I see some of them on Tubi. Every once in a while, they're good. He always manages to bring it at some point. Uh, any more of these car crash, secret agent, retired agent things. I can't take them anymore. Right now, he's got a Western out that they're selling on Prime Video, something about town, my town or something. But he is a wonderful actor, and he does more movies than Eric Roberts, who will take anything. And then every once in a while, Eric Roberts gets a good role or a decent role. Armand Asante, who's from right here in the Hudson Valley, experienced that. He went from big movies like The Mambo King and Private Benjamin, and I first saw him in Little Darlings. That was the first movie I ever saw him in. He went to school in Newburgh, New York. He did. Lived in Cornwall, and then moved to outside of Goshen, where he had a farm. Ended up going through a bankruptcy, but they let him keep his farm, but not all the land around it. So that's what happens sometimes. There's just so much work out there, and big name actors can find themselves literally in bankruptcy court. Um, well, what else about Nostradamus talking about droughts and floods, riots and revenge in the streets. Does that sound familiar? Are those the times we live in? Sooner or later, you will see great changes occurring, horrors and terrible revenge, social upheavals, and civil rebellion that could lead, that will lead to revolution. Revolution. It is literally a world divided into two groups. That should sound really familiar to you. More importantly, we see signs of World War III. He doesn't elaborate too much about World War III that I can see. By the way, hi, Kathleen. I see you there. Hello, Jack, she says. And hello, Bella Boo Kitty. Bella Boo Kitty, hello. Nice to see you. Nice to see you both. Um, Kathleen's been very supportive and encouraging, and we've had a good time with our Bob Joyce videos. I have told the story. I'm pretty sure we covered it. If there's major breaking news, you know, I will cover that. The videos that are up right now as I speak to you here on this January 28th will stay up for a while, but we're going to phase it out. I'm going to learn some editing skills with Dandy Andy Red Bear on Twitch. He's a gamer, you know. Um, Going to learn some editing skills and see what we can put up. I would like to do that. If it really worked well, I would probably forget about doing the radio stream because that is so much of a commitment, so much of a commitment. And when I do spiritual sharing, that's what it is. I'm not a spiritual teacher. I'm not a spiritual teacher. And don't get me wrong, I am not comparing Nostradamus to the Word of God. In fact, at the very end, and that's not that far away, at the very end, I'll share just a little bit from Revelation, which is God's prediction. One good thing is, as I look at the Holy Scriptures, I don't see the world ending in nuclear war. I don't see that. But wow, you got Putin out there, and you've got voices here in America, certain generals, Tom Cotton, the senator, Lindsey Graham. General Jack Keane is a real war hawk. You see him on the Fox channel, and they've got their own on CNN, fake news CNN, and what have you. But there are some more intelligent voices. I would say more intuitive voices. Anyone who becomes a general has got to be a special individual, and I do respect them. I can disagree, but I do respect them. Lieutenant Colonel Daniel Davis says that Biden is leading us into a nuclear war. And war people like Tom Cotton, Lindsey Graham, and General Jack Keane are urging him to do it. Uh, General Jack Keane says China will be encouraged if Russia wins. Well, the thing that the Lieutenant Colonel Daniel Davis says is that there's no way Vladimir Putin will ever back down, put his tail between his legs, and leave Ukraine, and that'll be the end of it. He would never, ever do that. Lieutenant Colonel Davis says that if we push him into a corner, he will eventually go for the nuclear button. He might try to do it limited. He may start with chemical weapons, but he will eventually do it. By the way, if you have a question or a comment on anything that comes to mind, you can do it right here. You can do it right here live as we talk to you. And if you're watching the replay later on, you can leave a question or comment and I'll answer you there, you know. But we are live right now, and you can do it in real time if you happen to catch the live broadcast. I mean, we've spent billions of dollars, billions of dollars. We are now like the bank for Zelensky, who gets irritated when it doesn't come fast enough. who has been pushing. In the beginning, he was pushing for us to have combat troops on the ground. He was pushing for that, but he didn't get that so far. Could there come a time when we become engaged? What if Poland decides to become engaged, or Germany, or what have you? It looks like Germany is more prone to be helping us now than helping Putin, but China, no, definitely not. North Korea sending weapons to Russia. They wanna they wanna get on the good side. It's like, you know who the person is who can protect you from the bullies, right? So get on Putin's good side. That Kim Jong Un isn't as crazy as we thought he was. He's made more advancements, and then there's the whole Iran thing. There's certainly no friends of ours, and certainly neither is Saudi Arabia. Did Nostradamus predict nuclear war? I don't see it in the study that I did this evening, Kathleen. I don't see that. But I see everything else that would accompany a World War III, including the collapse of the economy. Biden can say, well, job numbers are up, which means that people that were out because of COVID have come back into the job market. The stimulus has ran out and they're having a hard time. Their reparations check hasn't come in the mail. Do you know that we sent $25 million to South Africa for reparations? 25 million. Our social security system could collapse by 2033, and we are spending money like we're using meth. Like we've just visited the meth lab. We're spending money hand over fist, they used to say. Never really thought about what that means, but we are spending money we don't have, devaluing the dollar. We owe a lot of money to China, and this man in the White House just keeps making it worse and worse and worse. But no, I don't hear him saying directly about a nuclear war. That's for further study. And again, I would take the word of God over Nostradamus anytime. But you do have to give him kudos. And nobody, I certainly don't know Nostradamus's heart. I don't know who his God was. I don't know who he believed in. Could he be a prophet of God? I can't say. I haven't studied it to that level, but it does seem like some of the things he has predicted has come true over the years. Um, so it's just frustrating to see these guys come on, and they don't take into account that you are pushing a scoundrel into a corner. Now, is Putin sane enough to realize that nobody can win a nuclear war if it goes full scale? Especially, it's going to be devastating no matter what. If they send chemical weapons into the Ukraine, it will hit Poland. It'll warp right into Poland. The idea that, oh, I guess we're gonna spend the rest of our money for our children's future, make sure they don't have Social Security, make sure they don't have anything. We'll spend that in rebuilding the Ukraine when all is said and done, and then Putin or somebody like him, because you never know what you're going to get next. If you do find a way to take him out, he will. He will. Blow it up again. Anybody watching far, far away? How about the UK? How about Australia? I hear from those people certainly in the Bob Joyce videos. Of course, Graceland is in Memphis, Tennessee, and tonight, there were uh, protests going on concerning the death of Mr. Nichols, who was really brutally murdered by five police officers, while another five watched and didn't do anything. I don't understand why self-preservation doesn't come in here. I mean, we've seen enough examples in the past of what has happened to people like Derek Chauvin when he wouldn't take his foot off the neck of George Floyd. thus making Floyd Saint George Floyd. That should never happen to George Floyd. We don't know how to deal with mental illness. And that's a whole nother topic. We have a whole video here in the live section on mental illness. We want to take guns away. Um, and we think that'll solve the problem. But what we've got to solve is the mental illness problem. We used to deal with mental illness. We didn't give, well, what has happened is they've taken all the tools away from mental health professionals and said to the mentally ill person, you decide whether you're going to take your medication. You decide whether you want to get the help you need. And the response from the mentally ill person is always screw you and your medication. I don't want it. I'll do what I want. And that can make everybody a victim. It makes them a victim. It makes their family a victim because they got to take care of this person forever. And their potential is never realized. It's never realized. It's about facing your fears. Have you done that? I'd like to hear an example of a time when you had to stand up to your fears and press on, and you're glad you did, because there are times when I thought, oh, I don't want to do this. I want to run the other way, and it doesn't work out for the best when we do that, unless we've made a bad choice. If we've made a bad choice, we should go in the opposite direction. When we talk about repentance, repentance is not asking for forgiveness of sins. Oh, I've always got a lot of sins to ask for forgiveness from. But repentance is changing direction. It's much harder than asking for forgiveness. I've been going one way, the wrong way, and now I'm going to turn around and go the other way. It's as hard as losing weight. I have a video up here. Advice for people that really need to lose weight. Watch that. It's a good one. Um, and it's getting some response. Um, we have comfort foods. We get used to that. More than any pill, we turn to macaroni and cheese. We turn to pizza. We turn to all the sweets if you have a sweet tooth. Wednesday is Sunday. Yeah. 7-11 people watching right now. And that I know of, if that count is right, and who knows who will see the replay. But Wednesday is Sunday at Carvel. Now I know some of you don't have a Carvel. You got a crappy place, maybe like, did I say Dairy Queen? So much air in their ice cream. Carvel rules. But I've been to a lot of places, including down in the Florida, and I can't find a Carvel down there. But Wednesday is Sunday, 2 Sundays for the price of one, and, oh, a hot fudge sundae from Carvel. Here in, New York, we have really great stuff, and I talk about this in the weight loss video. Also, as I say, right here in the live, portion, we talk about the mental health problem and how, uh, it, is causing so much damage. So many horrific crimes are done by mentally ill people, and they're never held to account. There were so many warning signs that were ignored. And so, the poor lady who lost her young son in Sandy Hook gets on there and said, could you please sign a petition to ban automatic weapons, because my son was shot 6 times. And your heart goes out to her. But there were all kinds of warning signs about the shooter that were ignored. Taking the weapons away from the law-abiding citizens, and and assuming that you can keep them out of the hands of the mentally ill people. There are millions of guns out there. If they want one, they can get one. They can, and they do. And often the parents are being held responsible too, because they know more than anybody else. I mean, as I have said this about President Biden. You know who knew more than anybody that President Biden was not up to the job? Jill Biden knew it. She knew it. We all thought it was the man with the orange hair, who does mean tweets and can be a real jerk. I understand that. Um, but It really turned out to be the man who we thought was the safe uncle. This is a brilliant novel. If we ever live to, if somebody lives to write about it, the turn, middle class Joe, all of that was just not true. Ties to the Ukraine, ties to China, the big guy that is referred to as Hunter Biden makes his negotiations. We have to provide for the big guy, 15% to the big guy. Hunter Biden sitting on a committee in China. He's not qualified to sit on the committee at Hamburger U, but he's there because they want his influence. They want his influence. So of course, and the same thing in Ukraine, they were paying Hunter Biden, an unqualified man who had a crack addiction and an addiction to strippers, you know, crack and strippers and alcohol. There's your combo. There's his trinity. Oh, okay. I'm not going to go off on that any further, but man, it puts us close to to disaster. Um, ah, Todd Ellis is with us. Yeah, hi Todd. He has joined us. It's cold where he is. Was snowy, not just cold. Not too bad this time of year. Where are you, Todd? Is that Ohio? The wonderful state of Ohio. You got a great governor there. Um, Played a little bit of the fair circuit in uh, the state of Ohio. Um, I have said this in videos before, but my second ex-wife was a professional clown, and we toured fairs and festivals in 10 states. I actually found a job that I loved more than radio. I thought when I became a radio disc jockey that was my dream. I've been interested in acting, but I saw radio as more attainable. I lived in Hollywood for a year, did some extra work, but I knew that I certainly didn't have the confidence level, or I didn't have the versatility to really make it as an actor. So I chose my second love, radio. But when I found myself as a touring manager, driver, personal assistant, booking agent, et cetera, for my second wife, who was a touring clown. She would do a magic show. She would twist the most incredible balloons, and we took tips for that. So that was a second way to get to earn money, because we came in pretty cheap to these fairs. We were a new act. But she did a magic show for the young kids, and it was just fun. I don't mind staying a month in the winter in Port St. Lucie, Florida, because we played the Port St. Lucie Fair, and then we went and played the Vero Beach Fair. I'll be going down to Port St. Lucie, if all works out, in early March to see the polka king, Jimmy Sturr. I am a huge fan of Jimmy Sturr and his polka music. He also does rock and roll with his orchestra and country and certainly big band. He's won 18 Grammys, and right now they're finishing up their January cruise on the Royal Princess. Beyond my budget. I wish I could do the cruise, but I haven't done that. There's a polka weekend every year in um, Villa Roma. Do I have the Villa Roma shirt? I do. It's right behind me. That's in April. It's about $800 for a couple, and it's 2 nights and 3 days of pure heaven. Gourmet food, polka music, wonderful heated pool, big, beautiful hot tub, and they just spoil you. They really, really do. It's an old school kind of place. Kind of reminds me of the hotel Jack Nicholson was in The Shining, especially the old school nightclub where Jimmy performs along with Molly B and Squeezebox, her husband Ted Lang. They were in the movie The Mule with Clint Eastwood. He was and is a big fan of Molly B, who has the Saturday Night Polka Party TV show on the RFD network. Jimmy Sturr is on the RFD network as well, and has 2 radio shows. If you're watching this live and you want to hear some really good music live from the Royal Princess, be listening with me. Now it's tonight at 6 p.m. East Coast time. Network.org. Network.org. They're going to do a live broadcast from the cruise ship at 6 o'clock tonight. That ought to be a lot of fun. That ought to be a lot of fun. He's been with us for a while. I was 14 when I first saw him, and he's still going many decades later. I saw him in 1969 for the first time. I'm certainly covering a plethora of topics. What about you guys? I'm going to talk about a psychedelic furs song that I really want you to listen to. They have the 3 or 4 or 5 or 6 or 10 that you should listen to, because Richard Butler, Tim Butler, the front people for the psychedelic furs, they are our favorite group. They really, really are. We saw them in 2022 in Albany, New York. We were just coming out of COVID, so to speak, but nobody had a mask on, and it was one of those standing events. I felt like there should be a mosh pit. You know, I thought, my God, if I'm ever going to get COVID, I'm going to get it now, because we're all lumped together watching. And this was like 2.5 hours with the opening act, but I didn't. I didn't. Did I get it later? Yeah. What was it like for me? I had my injections. It felt like bronchitis, exactly like a bad bronchitis. It came and then it went, and I was fine again. The Pfizer vaccine, the Moderna vaccine, it's a whole nother story. I'm not going to go into it tonight. Tucker Carlson has been talking about that. And yeah, I'm a Tucker fan. I'm a Tucker fan. Larry. Well, hey, Larry. Virginia, huh? Virginia's for lovers. Are you a lover, Larry? Hello. He calls me by my Christian name, but I prefer Jack, because Jack has always been my professional name. You know, when I started in Fredonia, New York, I arrived in Dunkirk, New York, which is the neighboring city. Dunkirk is actually a city, and it was named after the German town Dunkirk. I arrived the day that Elvis Presley died. I arrived to my new surroundings, and my new landlord, who was there to greet me at the bus, who I had met out in Hollywood, California, standing on line for Merv Griffin. We got into conversation, and I said, "Well, I was thinking about doing some acting, but I think that radio is going to be the avenue for me." And he says, "Well, in my town, Dunkirk, right next door, Fredonia, there's a WBUZ, and Hammering Hank was his name, the station owner. He's always hiring new people. So why don't you get in touch with him?" And sure enough, they wanted me to come down for my first job in radio, and it was an experience. But I did arrive there, and it was a country station. I knew very little about country music, but here I was on 1570 AM, the sound of the country. And I used my middle name, Jack Allen. That was my name in Western New York. We got into close to Buffalo, but not right in, unfortunately, to Buffalo. Not that anybody really would have listened to us, but we did have an audience in the Fredonia, Chautauqua County area. Fond memories of my early start in radio. Jack, it is, Larry. Well, thank you. Thank you. Are you related to Hulk Hogan? Hmm? I don't know too many Hogans. Hoagies. Some people call their submarines, their sub sandwiches, hoagies, right? In Western New York, who knows what they call them in Western New York? What do they call a sub sandwich in Western New York? There's a question. If somebody knows, type it in right now. We've got about a dozen people watching live. Kathleen says LO. I'm not sure what that means. Anybody know what they call a submarine sandwich, a sub sandwich in Western New York? I'll give you someone's going to look it up, which is not fair. You're cheating. Someone's gonna look it up, but it's a very interesting area, I mean, they get all this snow, but it is wonderful up there in the other seasons in Western New York. Big polka community up there. Of course, they love their football and they love their hockey. The Sabres and the Buffalo Bills, they rule, and I'm not really a fan of any of those sports. I just like the New York Yankees. If you're a Yankee hater, what can I do? I'm from New York. I'm going to like the Yankees or the Mets. That's how it works. It's not like football. I never understood football. No, I'm not going to be watching the halftime show. Not going to be watching the Rihanna. However, I was a huge fan, as was my lady, of Bates Motel. 5 years of Bates Motel, which you can still see on. Is it on Tubi or is it on Prime Video? I'm not sure, but it's all 5 seasons are electric with Freddie Highmore, who plays the Good Doctor now, and we've been watching him for the last few years. I don't watch many broadcast TV dramas, but we watch the Good Doctor. We watch the Good Doctor, so it's a lot of fun. He's a wonderful actor. He really, really is. He, of course, was Charlie in Charlie and the Chocolate Factory with a great Johnny Depp, who has a whole new life now. Is he going to play Jack again? Is he going to play the pirate again? I think they might have decided to do it because, he that's his role. That's his Mission Impossible now. That's his Top Gun. Tom Cruise has finally been nominated for an Academy Award after a lifetime of being ignored. He's finally been nominated. What's my favorite Tom Cruise film? If I tell you, you'll lose all respect for me. Who can guess what my favorite Tom Cruise movie is? Do we have any answers on are you thinking about moving to Florida? She says. Okay, I'll answer that in a second, Kathleen. Uh, the name of the submarine sandwich in Western New York, at least it was when I lived there in 77 and 1978, they call them bombers. Bombers, it kind of looks like a bomb. Do they have hard rolls up there? I think they do. Yeah, I think the bread is good in Western New York. Us New Yorkers, we think we're the only ones that have good bread, only ones that have good bread. But if you're somewhere else and you can't get a hard roll, really, the next best bet for you will probably be, this is a free plug here for Danny DeVito's favorite place, apparently, because they pay him, Jersey Mike's. Jersey Mike's. When I was down living in Rock Hill, South Carolina with the clown, that's where I went for a good sub. Not as great as some of the delis that we have here in New York, but Jersey Mike's is about as close as you're going to get. And but a bakery with hard rolls and the kind of Italian bakeries that we have up here. See why it's so hard to lose weight? It's so hard to lose weight. Am I thinking about moving to Florida? I'm going to give you the answer, Kathleen. I can't. Because if I do, I'll blow up my partner's life. I'll have to separate. And I've known this woman. This is my fourth serious relationship since the very beginning. I like to say I began with a Karen who was a newscaster on the station where I was doing radio in this very city. She's long moved away. I started with a Karen and I'm going to end with a Karen, it seems. I want to move to Florida in the worst way. I hate being here in January. But the reality is that she has this home here. She lives on the other side of the duplex. This is my studio bedroom. You can probably figure that out, right? You can see all the pictures on the wall that, I think kind of proves that I'm crazy, but my whole life is on these walls. There's over 200 Google photos on my wall. I just had missed photos so much, and then I discovered Google Photos, and I just started buying another 15 and another 12 and what have you, and so I can look around, and I've got a Dark Shadows wall because I love the Dark Shadows show with Barnabas Collins, and I've got a travel wall, and I've got people that meant a lot to me wall. Uh, just a my whole life is on these walls. Um, I would love to live in Florida. It's not cheap. If you end up in a mobile home, which don't mind mobile homes at all, and the wrong storm comes along, there goes your mobile home. It might blow into Georgia. It just might. So, she has a son. I'm not going to say too much about this, but she has a son who is grown, and uh, he needs the New York City benefits. Kathy Hochul is certainly not my choice for governor. Lee Zeldin was my choice for governor. But boy, if you're looking for good benefits, if you're looking for the freebies, New York is the place to come. People in the last November election that had never voted in their lives, they walked in, they don't even have cars. They walked in to vote for Kathy Hochul. Overwhelming. This is in the upstate New York, especially. I'm sorry, the five boroughs, but also here in the Hudson Valley, there's a lot of it too, because they knew that Kathy Hochul would be most likely to keep their expanded food stamps, keep their Medicaid, and everything like that. And so I call it the free stuff crowd. Now, if you're young, I understand free stuff, but then there's also the older people who never plan for their retirement in any way, shape, or form. I have a very modest retirement, um, and that's my fault. That's my fault. I have to do other projects and what have you, and that's good for my creative juices and what have you. Um, but I have struggled with this, and we have argued about it for years. And I finally got to the point where I said, life is too short to keep this battle up, where I keep bringing it up and then we squabble about it, because none of those southern states have those Medicaid benefits. South Carolina has them for women that are pregnant, but that's about it. Tennessee, Florida, uh, uh, North Carolina, South Carolina, where am I forgetting? Any of Tennessee? Did I say that one? They don't have it. They don't have it. It's the states that are richer that have it for the most part. Maine has it now, the great state of Maine. I love Maine, but it's 11 degrees right now in Calais, Maine. It's really Calais, but the Canadians call it Calais, and I love that name. I've been to Calais many times. When I was in the second marriage. Oh boy. Um, but I love Maine in the summer. I love Maine in the summer. I love Kennebunk and Portland, and we went up to Bar Harbor. Something interesting happened. Tom Cruise movie Top Gun. That's your favorite one. Anybody guess my favorite one? I guess I got to go back on this because I don't know how to do that in real time. Oh, it's up here too. Let me move the mic up. Yeah, hello from Ohio. Great state that you live in, Todd Ellis. Um, yeah, Troy, Ohio. Okay, we have a Troy, New York, which is up in the capital region, not too far. It's right next to Albany, New York, where Governor Hochul is. So everybody said wonderful things, Larry, about the Top Gun movie. I mean, people just say it is so incredible. It's just not my kind of movie. What was my favorite Tom Cruise movie? Don't say I don't ever admit to something. Hands down. How many times have I seen it? I don't know. It's a very revealing answer when I tell you my favorite movie is Eyes Wide Shut. The Stanley Kubrick, last thing he ever did, he didn't survive to to see the opening of Eyes Wide Shut. He passed away about a month before it opened. But they filmed that in London, making it look like they were in Greenwich Village, New York. And it was the last movie that Tom did with Nicole. I've always had the theory that there's a couple of scenes in that movie that depicts her being unfaithful, and I wondered if it was, if there was something possibly to the idea that reality was masking the pretend world. Clumsy way to say it, but you know what I'm saying. That was the last thing they did together. Um, so here I am, 16 years old, and I've quit school. The day I turned 16, my mother and I went to the junior high school. I was in ninth grade, and I signed the papers to quit. I promised my mom that I would get my high school equivalency diploma, and I wanted to go into broadcasting school. I had no interest in algebra and a lot of the things they teach you in school. I just didn't want to be there. So I had to go to work. That's the only way I was going to get a car. See, my first car was a 1966 Plymouth Valiant, powder blue, baby blue, with a shift in the column. It was a standard with a shift in the column. What a great car that was, that Plymouth Valiant. It really, really was. Um, but I was in need of a job, so I back then we had a store that was like a precursor to Walmart. The slogan of Lloyd's in Middletown, Newburgh, and Warwick, New York, the slogan was years ahead. And Ed Lloyd was years ahead. It was basically a Walmart, everything from groceries. Baby blue is her favorite color, Kathleen said. That's a good movie, Eyes Wide Shut. Well, really, Larry? Why do you like that movie? I guess we know what you're into. Oh, it's revealing when we say we like a movie like that, Larry, you know? And it was a good acting job on Tom's part. And he was also good as the cadet with Timothy Hutton. What was that movie? You know, the one I'm talking about where they, uh, they are holding themselves up. They barricade the West Point type facility, and they uh, they don't want to come out. That was a good movie with Tom Cruise. But yeah, Eyes Wide Shut. I've probably seen it over a dozen times. If I'm flipping around on late night TV and I see that movie, I usually stop. Um, so I went to work for Ed Lloyd. Lloyd's, the Walmart before there was a Walmart, and I was a dishwasher busboy, and there were like four restaurants that he had that were all together. There was a luncheonette, there was something called the family restaurant, there was something called the black room, all painted in black, and then there was a cafeteria. And I had to deal with all of these and wash dishes. 8 days of that, and I thought, why did I ever quit school? Why did I ever quit school? I quit after 8 days, and then I realized, well, I have to work. So oh, Tom Hanks. I'll talk about that in a moment, Todd. Absolutely, I do. Um, yeah, I went up to McDonald's, and there I found a wonderful group of people to work with, and I worked 10 a.m. to 4:30 p.m. This is 1972 at McDonald's. We had no drive-in window. We had no extensive menu. We had hamburgers, cheeseburgers, double hamburgers, double cheeseburgers, shakes, fries, apple pies, maybe cherry pies if we were being fancy, French fries, coffee, tea, soda. That was the entire, oh, fish fillet, and that was the entire menu. That was the entire menu. Then we got the quarter pounders eventually, and I was there as we cooked the first quarter pounders. But by then, I was a crew chief wearing that red manager's hat. I looked like a manager, but I was really just a crew chief. So once in a while, they would send me up to take customers. This goes back to the days when you had a pencil and a pad, and you had to check off things, and you had to add it by hand on the pad. And people would see me coming up with my tie and manager's hat and say, "Oh, we're good now. We're good to go. This guy's going to be fast." And of course, I was the worst of them all. I I did everything I could to avoid taking customers. I wanted to be back there calling the shots and helping out too. But they were fun days at McDonald's. But I needed more money to get my Plymouth Valiant and to, to help my mom out because I was living with my mom. So at 4:30, I would get off. I would go across the street to the Orange Plaza Mall, hang out for a little bit, and then I would go to the Plaza Theater, which is now a KFC. And from 6 to 10, I would be an usher. Black pants, white shirt, little black bow tie, black and gold jacket. And one of the first, I'm 16 years old, and one of the first movies that I'm going to encounter um, is you like The Green Mile, Todd? Um, yeah, I like it. I like the movie. Um, the first movie that I encounter is the X-rated Stanley Kubrick Clockwork Orange. This is why I got so screwed up in life. Every night I'm watching Clockwork Orange, and the movie stayed for a while. It stayed for like 4 weeks. And it opens with, well, I don't even want to go into it. You know what it opens with if you've seen it. And it goes from there, with the great Malcolm, whatever his name is, I can't think of it right now, but he does a wonderful performance in the movie. But it's very graphic. Stanley Kubrick definitely had a warped mind all the way to Eyes Wide Shut. I notice there's more of the screen when we're live, especially, and maybe when we do the playback, sometimes the audio cuts out a little bit, that kind of thing. But yeah, I worked at the Plaza Theater. So even at 16, I had two jobs, and by age 18, I was working only weekends at McDonald's as a crew manager, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. And then on Monday through Thursday, I was in Hartford, Connecticut at the Connecticut School of Broadcasting. That's how that went. Tom Hanks, oh man, what a legend. I don't agree with his politics, but he's a wonderful man. I want to see the Otto movie. Otto, I haven't seen it yet. We were going to see it, and then we haven't seen it. It looks like a good one. I don't think it's going to be a legendary film, but he's aged now, right along with me. Tom Hanks and I are the same age. We're both 66 years old, and I think of how he used to look and how he looks now, and still looks good, of course. But yeah, it's different, isn't it? My favorite Tom Hanks movie is going to come out of left field. Hey, Adam Davidson. Good day, Mr. Jack. Best wishes from Adam in, of course, Houston, Texas. Yes, yes, yes. I don't know why I choose this as my favorite Tom Hanks movie, but I love travel. I love traveling. I love rest stops. I love truck stops, whether it be Flying J or Truck Stops of America. Uh, if you say, well, what Tom Hanks movie have you seen the most times? I guess Forrest Gump is, that would be a close contender, obviously, for my favorite movie. But other than that, it's The Terminal. I love The Terminal. We recite lines in the house from The Terminal. If my lady says something about Tuesday, I'll say, Tuesday, I hate the Tuesday. And that's what the Indian janitor says in The Terminal when Tom Hanks is trying to get him to give him back his food coupons that fell into the garbage. He said, come back on Tuesday. And then when Tom Hanks as Victor Navorsky finally comes back to retrieve his food coupons, which of course have long been disposed of, he says, yes, I have an appointment on Tuesday. And the wonderful young old actor says, Tuesday, I hate the Tuesday. So there was something very special. Big Stanley Tucci fan. He was great in that movie, and he's great in Finding Italy. I think he's trying to find a new network since CNN won't be doing original programming anymore. Who would want to watch that? I mean, CNN, I have a whole video on that. Watch that. They have the greatest field reporters in the world, but they're introduced by sellouts who sold their integrity for they became so obsessed with hating Donald Trump, they sold their integrity, and that includes Wolf Blitzer, and that's certainly Tapper and Lemon never had it. But I liked these people before, but something happened to them in the Trump. They became so obsessed with with getting Donald Trump out of office and keeping him out of office, that they as what's her name, the blonde who's on Sirius XM. Did a whole video on her. Um, it's on the Megan Kelly, right? She did a whole video explaining just how these CNN anchors all abandoned all objectivity, all creativity, all curiosity, and they literally suppress the news that would not be favorable to the Democratic Party, which is now filled with woke socialists, and uh, they also sacrifice their ratings because nobody watches them anymore. And I used to love Anderson Cooper. I used to enjoy even Cuomo, who's on the News Nation now. I watch him every once in a while at 11 o'clock if I'm not watching Gutfeld. Who makes me laugh. But I'm a huge Tucker fan. Hannity does his thing, and uh, I'm Waters, and this is my world. Yeah, he's pretty cool too. A lot of talent on the Fox network and Fox Business too. Oh, the stock market. What Joe Biden did to crypto, what he did to the stock market, trying to pay for all this reckless spending, and he is just destroyed. I mean, it's a real challenge now to make money. I'm talking about a small time investor on Robinhood. That's what I do. I have very little money in it, and I've lost money. I've lost money because when you overregulate something, um, there's something I have discovered about these big time Wall Street investors. Um, I don't want to use a word that I would regret using later. These Wall Street investors are real tushies, or something that rhymes with it. I mean, you almost want to keep them away from the news flow of the day because it doesn't take very much of anything for them to say, oh, we better sell everything, sell. These day traders, sell, and there plunges the stock market. I mean, hey, we have to learn to make money in a Joe Biden environment where there's all these regulations. Crypto was flying high. You could make, even if you were a small investor, you could make money on Ethereum, for example. He ruined all that. This man has destroyed people's 401ks. Some have lost hundreds of thousands of dollars and more. Now, no one will ever tell me that he is anything but the worst president that has lived in my lifetime. The absolute worst. It's okay if you disagree with me, because that's what America is about. And if you're out there in the UK or Australia, how's your government working for you? What do you think of your new prime minister if you're in England? I don't know anything about him. But that woman that was in there, I can't even remember her name. What, she last 2 weeks? I'm curious. Somebody email me at jackthefairguy@gmail.com, Jack the FAIR, fairguy @gmail.com, and explain to me why this woman was hounded out in 2 weeks, why they hated her so much. There are so many people here that need to go, and they stay. Very glad to see Shifty Schiff losing his committee assignment. He's going to run now for senator. Also, Eric Swalwell and his Russian spy, or Chinese spy, Asian spy girlfriend, and Omar in foreign affairs. Really? She made blatantly anti-Israel, anti-Jewish remarks. She and Wolf Blitzer. Oh, well, we did cover that. And this is a man, he has relatives that were in the Holocaust. Wolf Blitzer, I used to have tremendous respect for him. But you know, they didn't give that much attention at all. And he had the power to do it. He had the power to say, no, I'm not going to subscribe to this woke jive, that people like Bill Maher are now coming against. And Louis C.K., what have you. Of course, Louis C.K., who was on Joe Rogan, is for completely open borders. Let everybody in. And he made some good points, but it logistically just doesn't work when one country moves to another country, then another country, because they're coming from all over. It's a really big issue, but they're all God's people. So I understand what he's saying. I understand what he's saying. So yeah, Todd, I love The Terminal, but there are so many other Tom Hanks movies. Another one that's got to be in the top three that I've seen so many times is Cast Away. Not Castaway. He was nobody's castaway on that plane. He was an employee on a FedEx plane, but he was cast away from the people he loved. And of course, the one he loved the most was Helen Hunt. Helen Hunt. And I just love that movie. Just I've seen it many, many times. But number one in terms of views is a toss up between The Terminal and Forrest Gump. Oh, Catch Me If You Can, another great Tom Hanks movie with the incredible Leonardo DiCaprio and Christopher Walken. Oh, seen that at least 12, 15 times, I'm sure that I have. My favorite, Bella Boo says my favorite is the Burbs. Is that a Tom Hanks movie, The Burbs? Excuse me. Let me have a sip of water here. I've been talking for too long. This won't do well on the playback because it's too long now. But whatever amount of time someone watches is what they watch. It's funny on the Bob Joyce videos, I'll have like 6,000 watch hours, but the average length of the view is 9, 10 minutes. Countdown videos do better. um, okay, The Burbs. I'll have to check that out. Why do I not know that movie? Uh, Ever done for my yeah, I'm a stickler too. When I make a mistake, I gotta correct it. I gotta correct it. Tammy is really I think there I have two Tammys and the last names are similar too. Is that you, Randy, from North Carolina? Is that Tammy? um By the way, my lady just got AMC because she's hooked on vampires. I told you we like Dark Shadows, the original series from 1966 to 1971. We're on the third go round of watching that series. And but AMC has now become like the vampire channel. Uh the History Channel used to be the Hitler channel, but now they're doing more of the reality shows. TLC used to have things on there that you could actually learn some things. Now they are the home of my 762-pound life. It's 600-pound life, but it really should be 762 because I swear most of them, the first time they get on the scale at Dr. Now's office, they are 762 pounds. And the doctor comes in, and I'll tell you, man, this guy you won't find a gray hair on his head. I'm due for a repaint, and I actually almost did it before the broadcast, but I didn't get it in. But he has dark brown hair. It looks like he dyes his hair once a week, and he's telling them, he's chastising them in many cases. You could have easily lost 40 pounds. This is on what's the name of the show that Dr. Now does. This is short-term memory loss. This is what happens. But he says you could have easily lost 40 pounds if you had followed the diet. And I always thought the thing he could say, I myself could stand to lose about 20 pounds, but I don't seem to lose any of it. But he's good, and that's one reality show I can watch. But this 90-day fiance thing, you know, oh my goodness, it's worse than Jerry Springer, these people. There used to be a few good ones. There was this guy that was in love with this Russian woman. He wore the black leather long coat, and he kept, a lot of these reality shows take license, and of course, it's not all real. It's not all reality. They have to make it interesting and what have you. They have to rehearse sometimes. But he kept trying to get, I want to say something like Lana. in Russia, and every time he would go, he was rich. He would fly from America to meet her in Russia. She would bail out. It's one thing if if you are supposed to meet your date at the mall and she doesn't show up. Okay, you have been dumped. But when you go all the way to Russia and she doesn't show up, and you keep doing it, it gets very annoying, I'm sure. But finally, they did meet up in Russia. That was the only one. But some of these people on that 90-day fiance, anybody like that out there? I can't do it. I can't do it. Um, so, oh, I wanted to read you a little bit of the song "You'll Be Mine" by Richard Butler and Tim Butler from the Psychedelic Furs. Richard Butler has been the lead vocalist of the Psychedelic Furs since about 1982. That's when they formed the group, and his brother plays bass, and they are writing partners. Tim Butler, if you ever get a chance to see the Psychedelic Furs, they're playing in Brisbane in February. Anybody watching in Australia? I do hear from Australia all the time. If you can get to Brisbane, if you're down under there, um, go see the Psychedelic Furs. They are phenomenal. One of the many great songs they have is a song called "You'll Be Mine." And as we were talking about, World War III and the times we live in, where everything seems upside down, bad is good, good is bad. Uh, they talk about this. They say, "Don't be surprised when every second has its place. Don't be surprised at all. Don't be surprised that all your days are yesterdays. When the new black is white and the new lows are high. Don't be surprised when all your dreams all fade away. When every dog has had its day. Don't be surprised when all the traffic runs to rust." I thought the lyric was fast, and it is fast. All the traffic is fast now, and terrible accidents happen because of reckless driving. When all the hours turn to dust. That's Richard and Tim Butler. "You'll Be Mine." There's great songs like "No One." Check that one out. "Wrong Train." I took the wrong train, got off the wrong town. Uh, Found myself somewhere suburban where they beat their kids up. "Wrong Train," great song. It really, really is. If you ever get a chance to see them, their biggest hit is "Love My Way" from the 80s. And I can't wait for the next Psychedelic Furs tour and album. John Belushi, okay, you're sparking my memory, Larry. It's coming to mind now. John Belushi and Dan Aykroyd in the Burbs. It's one of those songs. It's one of those movies I saw probably on HBO, and I think I tuned in when it was already in progress. But hilarious. Yeah, they Belushi and Aykroyd together were just incredible, just incredible. Oh man, some people you hate to see go, like Robin Williams, right? Robin Williams and Bill Paxton, who didn't have to die. He had an unnecessary procedure over at Cedar-Sinai Medical Center. He was in that HBO show Big Love. He was in Apollo 13, I guess, the movie. Really, really good. So, yeah, enjoying my show. Is this a show? I don't know what this is. This is just there used to be a great disc jockey. He's passed away now, Dan Ingram at WABC in New York City, and he would refer to his show as the Ingram Mess. The Ingram Mess. He was known perhaps as the best disc jockey that ever existed. He had $1 million set of pipes. He made more money going to a recording studio after his WABC show and doing spots for commercials and for he was the voice of HBO for a while. He was the voice of many movie trailers, and you'd hear his voice in the theater. You would during the coming attractions. He made a lot of money doing that, as James Earl Jones has, and many many others. So I wish I had that $1 million voice. I don't, but I wish. So I think as I look at my list, I think I got to enough, and I never expected to go an hour and 15 minutes. But what can I say? You people are really wonderful. Um, talking about the Bob Joyce topic. I can't say that I've shared everything because sometimes there you something comes to you that you just know in your heart you can't share. You can't share. I have never intended to hurt Pastor Bob Joyce in any way. I love what he does. I think I may have stayed too long at the dance. I should have let up earlier. Um, but people love the topic so much, and the videos are responsible for 95% of my subscribers, to be honest. So I've got to learn some editing skills, and there's other stuff I want to do. I want to get off. So many people say, give him some space. Let him do his wonderful ministry in peace. And you make a great point. So there are things that I haven't said, and I can't say. Um, it's just funny that there's unrest on this Saturday, the 28th, in Memphis, Tennessee, because it's a special day. That's all I can say. That's all I can say. But we will talk on you again. Even though I say I'm going to be doing less videos, there comes a time when I just know I have to do a video uh, on a plethora of topics. But without that editing skills and being able to put in pictures and roll in video, you're not, usually going to get the kind of hits that I would like to see. If I got enough hits in the videos in the future, I would probably forget about the radio stream. It's much nicer on YouTube because it kind of works around your schedule. You do a radio stream and that's up 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. You've always got to feed it. It's got a ferocious appetite. And to play music on there, you have to get a music license, and that's like it's a lot of money to get a copyright license. A lot of people go through this live 365 when they start a radio station, but there's a lot of rules and regulations and a lot of tech you got to learn, and tech always scares the heck out of me. So thank you, Todd. Thank you, Larry. Thank you, Kathleen. Thank you, Larry. And thank you, Adam Davidson from Houston. I hope you're doing okay. I hope your health is improving. Keep Adam in your prayers. Keep a young lady by the name of Amy from this neck of the woods. She's a medical prescription supervisor. They deliver prescriptions to the various nursing homes and what have you. And she's very ill with cancer. Keep Amy in your thoughts. She's not a old woman. She's, I think, in her 40s. So I'm a cancer survivor. I had cancer of the appendix in 2012. That led to me having a colon resection where they took out 5 feet of my colon. It was all unnecessary because I'm so thankful to the Lord Jesus Christ. There was no spread. And after 5 years, my oncologist said, "You don't need me anymore. You're good. Keep up, blood work with your GP, but you have passed the mark." And so I had a colon resection, which was not an easy recovery for absolutely no reason at all, except the good news that there had been no spread. Had been no spread. If you're going through any kind of a health crisis, just seek the Lord's face with all your heart. I'm not going to forget the scripture. Just a quick couple of verses from Revelation. Let me put on my other glasses. I'm becoming like Fred Sanford in Sanford and Son. He had a drawer of glasses. And of course, the bit was it took him like 3 times to find a pair of glasses he could actually see out of. Revelation chapter 3 to close. This is part of verse 1. I know your deeds. You have a reputation of being alive, but you are dead. This is an admonishment, for those of us that continuously sin and seem to run from repentance. Wake up, strengthen what remains, as it is about to die. For I have not found your deeds complete in the sight of my God. This is supposedly John, the Apostle John. Remember, therefore, what you have received and heard, obey it and repent. Verse 5 of the same chapter, he who overcomes like them will be dressed in white. I will never blot his name from the book of life, but this is Jesus speaking, as was what I just read to you. It's in red, duh. Um, I will never blot out his name from the book of life, but will acknowledge his name before my Father and his angels. He who has an ear, let him hear what the Spirit says. Words of Jesus from the book of Revelation. And the book of Revelation doesn't say that we go out in a nuclear war. So that's good news. Talk to you again. Thanks very much for all your participation. And a big God bless you.